In the quiet village of Umu, young Kamsi's life was forever altered the day her mother died, giving birth to her brother. Her father, a weary bricklayer, overwhelmed by the demands of life, made the impossible choice of leaving Kamsi with her mother's elder sister, Aunty, promising it was temporary and that she would be cared for like her own child. Yet from the very first day she stepped into Morin's house in Aba, Kamsi's innocence was crushed under the weight of a nightmare. Aunty, bitter from past betrayals, with a husband who had abandoned her for a younger woman, resented Kamsi for being a living reminder of all she had lost, and subjected the young girl to relentless labor, scalding punishments, verbal assaults, and daily humiliation, while her own children, Bomber and Tar, enjoyed luxury, private schooling, and fresh meals, a constant reminder to Kamsi of her marginalization and suffering. Yet amidst the cruelty, she held on to small sparks of hope, finding solace in the encouragement of her schoolteacher, Mrs. Ali, who always told her she was the bright one and urged her not to let anyone make her feel small. While Kamsi endured scars from broomsticks, burns from cooking, and bruises from being beaten daily, all the while whispering to her late mother at night, "Mommy, I miss you. Why did you leave me?" Until one tragic Saturday, when her carelessness or distraction from sweeping the compound led to a minor kitchen accident that exploded into monstrous violence when Aunty, enraged at burnt rice, poured a kettle of boiling water onto Kamsi's face without hesitation, the scream of the innocent child echoing through the village like a haunting chord of pain. Neighbors rushed in, the police were called, and despite the evidence, Morin's lies, her church connections, and her ability to manipulate truth allowed her to escape justice, leaving Kamsi physically scarred with peeling skin, a drooping left eye, and emotional wounds so deep that she could not speak for weeks, retreating into a silent world of fear, self-doubt, and observation. Yet in the darkness of her grandmother's humble home, staring at the stars behind the kitchen roof, Kamsi made a quiet but unwavering promise to herself that she would rise above poverty, abuse, and fear, that she would never beg for food, never live in another's house without dignity, and that one day the burned and scarred reflection in the mirror would not symbolize defeat but survival, strength, and the unyielding spirit of a girl who refused to be broken. When her father finally returned, guilt-ridden and worn from life in the city, Kamsi reluctantly left her grandmother's home, stepping into a new, chaotic world with her younger brother, Chibiki, navigating streets filled with strangers, the noise of commerce, and the harsh judgments of people staring at her scars and whispering cruelly as she carried trays of pure water on her head to earn small coins for survival, enduring mockery, laughter, and judgmental eyes, yet pressing on with silent determination, each step a testament to her resilience, until a chance encounter with Miss Adora, a well-dressed woman running a foundation for abused girls, transformed Kamsi's life, offering her scholarships, therapy, uniforms, school fees, and encouragement that nurtured her intelligence and spirit for the first time in years, allowing her to smile without hiding her scars, to engage fully in education, and to volunteer at local clinics where she absorbed knowledge and learned how to help others, her brilliance shining despite her disfigurement. And as she moved through adolescence into young adulthood, Kamsi's dedication to learning and service only intensified, culminating in her acceptance into the University of Nigeria to study nursing, where her determination, intelligence, and kindness distinguished her. And through these experiences, Kamsi gradually transformed the trauma and scars etched on her body into symbols of endurance, learning to see herself not as a victim of fate, but as a survivor with the power to shape her destiny, walking daily with purpose, teaching herself that each hardship was an opportunity for growth, each humiliation a test of patience and character, and each judgmental stare a reminder that the world might be cruel, but her inner strength, intelligence, and resilience could rise far above, forming the foundation for a life where scars marked not shame but survival, and every day became a quiet triumph in preparation for a future where Kamsi could finally claim her agency, independence, and voice. By her late 20s, Kamsi had not only survived but thrived, working in Lagos and later in the UK as a nurse, her speech and accent refined, her confidence unshakable, her facial scars no longer a source of shame but a testament to her journey. And yet the past lingered, the woman who had once inflicted unimaginable pain, begging for help on her deathbed. And despite the flood of memories burning water, screams, humiliation, and betrayal, Kamsi decided to confront her past, not for revenge, but for closure, booking a flight to Nigeria, returning to the place of her trauma to face the woman who had shaped so much of her childhood, entering a hospital where the once loud, proud, and cruel aunt now lay frail, pale, and dependent. And as Kamsi stepped into the room, time seemed to pause. Moran's eyes met hers, filled with fear and recognition. Yet Kamsi's composure radiated control and moral strength, and instead of violence or anger, she chose compassion and clarity, speaking firmly about the years of pain while asserting that her healing and peace were her own, that survival meant rising above cruelty rather than becoming it. And in those tense, quiet moments, Kamsi realized that true power was not in punishment or retaliation, but in choosing the higher ground, helping when necessary not to absolve an abuser, but to liberate herself from the chains of hatred, demonstrating that life's victories are often silent, internal, and moral, built on courage, restraint, and the decision to transform trauma into strength and wisdom. Inside the hospital ward where Moran lay weak and frail, Kamsi faced the woman who had marked her childhood with violence, sitting at the foot of her bed and calmly recounting the years of suffering, the pain of burns, humiliations, and neglect, delivering truth without anger, giving Moran the opportunity to confess her bitterness while asserting her own autonomy and strength. And as the heart monitor beeped steadily, the room became a silent courtroom of morality, where Kamsi's dignity contrasted sharply with Moran's frailty, revealing the fragility of cruelty and the enduring power of resilience. And in that room, Kamsi understood that forgiveness was optional, but closure was essential, that helping her abuser was not an act of reconciliation, but a reclaiming of her life. And as Moran admitted her bitterness and spoke of jealousy and loss, Kamsi realized that the cycle of cruelty often stems from unhealed wounds. Yet her decision to rise above hatred illustrated that victory lies not in vengeance, but in integrity. And as she walked away from the hospital, she carried with her not the burden of anger, but the quiet certainty that her life, her choices, and her scars belonged solely to her, untainted by those who once sought to destroy her, and that every act of courage, patience, and compassion was a deliberate step toward freedom, empowerment, and legacy. Years later, Kamsi returned to Umakuro village, not to mourn or dwell on past suffering, but to build something lasting and transformative, founding the Healing Place, a sanctuary for girls and children scarred by abuse, neglect, and abandonment, offering food, therapy, education, and hope, creating a space where trauma could be addressed, strength nurtured, and futures rebuilt. And when asked why she continued to help others despite her own pain, Kamsi smiled gently, explaining that healing was an act for oneself, not for the abuser, that lifting others was a reflection of reclaiming agency. And through this center, she demonstrated that scars, whether visible or hidden, can be transformed into emblems of resilience and courage, showing that life's most meaningful triumphs are measured not in revenge or wealth, but in the ability to rise above cruelty, to create hope where despair once reigned, and to inspire others to transform suffering into empowerment. And as children laughed, learned, and found sanctuary under her guidance, Kamsi understood that the story of survival was not only her own, but a legacy of strength and compassion, a living proof that what once sought to break her instead shaped her into a beacon of hope, resilience, and transformative change for generations to come.